Right now, if it snows heavily outside, you know exactly what to do. You stay inside. You turn up the heat. You order food to your door. The snow is an inconvenience at most. Now take all of that away. No walls thick enough to block the cold. No stored food. No way to know if this snowfall will stop in 2 days or 2 months. Ancient humans had no forecast, no backup plan, and no guarantee that the person who fell asleep next to the fire tonight would still be warm by morning. What they did to survive weeks of endless snow was not what you would expect. And some of it was so clever that modern survival experts still cannot fully explain how they figured it out. Most people assume the biggest threat during a heavy snowfall is freezing to death. And yes, the cold was deadly. But ancient humans who survived week after week of snow quickly learned that the cold itself was not the first thing that would kill them. The first thing that would kill them was something far more ordinary: hunger. When snow covers the ground for weeks, every food source disappears. Animals go into hiding or move to lower ground. Plants are buried, rivers freeze. The entire landscape that ancient humans depended on for survival becomes completely empty. And a human body burning extra calories just to stay warm in freezing temperatures needs more food than usual, not less. This created a brutal problem. The exact moment when ancient humans needed the most energy was the exact moment when finding food became nearly impossible. So the very first thing they learned was this: you do not wait for snow to arrive before you think about food. You prepare before it comes. Archaeologists studying ancient campsites in Europe found evidence of food storage going back over 20,000 years. Meat buried in frozen ground to preserve it. Animal fat stored in sealed containers made from stomach lining. Dried plants packed tightly and hidden in dry cave corners. Ancient humans were not just hunters and gatherers. They were strategists who understood that winter was coming whether they were ready or not. The groups that survived long snowfalls were not the strongest. They were the ones who planned the furthest ahead. And that habit of thinking beyond today, of preparing for something that had not happened yet, was one of the most important mental shifts in all of human history. But preparation only got you so far, because even the best stored food ran out. And when it did, ancient humans had to make decisions that most of us today would find almost impossible to imagine. When snow fell and showed no signs of stopping, every group of ancient humans faced the same question: do we stay here and wait it out, or do we move? Both choices could get you killed. Staying meant safety from the immediate elements, but risked starvation if food ran out. Moving through deep snow in freezing temperatures burned enormous amounts of energy and exposed the group to cold, exhaustion, and injury. Children, elderly people, and anyone already weakened by illness could not survive a long journey through a blizzard. So how did they decide? Researchers studying ancient migration patterns found something fascinating. Ancient humans developed what can only be described as a collective reading of the environment. They watched animal behavior closely. When animals started moving in large numbers in a specific direction, it meant conditions were getting worse ahead. When certain birds appeared near camps that were not usually there, it meant food sources in other areas had already been depleted. When the snow changed texture in specific ways, it meant the temperature was dropping further and the storm was not ending soon. Ancient humans were reading signals that most modern people would walk past without noticing. And those readings were often the difference between a group that made it through winter and one that did not. But here is something that gets almost no attention when people talk about ancient survival. Moving through deep snow without the right equipment was nearly impossible. And ancient humans figured out the equipment question in a way that completely changed everything. Snowshoes, the oldest known snowshoes, date back roughly 6,000 years, found in the Alps. But researchers believe the technology is far older than that, possibly going back tens of thousands of years, made from materials that simply did not survive long enough to be found. The principle behind a snowshoe is almost embarrassingly simple. Spread your weight across a larger surface and you do not sink into the snow. Without snowshoes, every step in deep snow means sinking to your knee or deeper, burning enormous energy just to move a few feet. With snowshoes, you stay on top of the surface and can cover real distance without exhausting yourself completely. This sounds like a small thing. It was not a small thing. It was the difference between being trapped in one location until the snow melted and being able to move, hunt, and find resources even in the middle of winter. And it was not the only technology ancient humans developed specifically for snow. Sleds appeared in northern Europe and Asia thousands of years ago, not the plastic ones children use today. Simple wooden frames that could be loaded with supplies and dragged across snow with far less effort than carrying the same weight on your back. Archaeological evidence of sleds has been found in Finland dating back over 9,000 years. Clothing was engineered with a level of precision that most people never give ancient humans credit for. Layered animal skin garments with the fur facing inward to trap warm air close to the body. Boots are constructed with multiple layers and carefully sealed seams to keep moisture out. Gloves and head coverings shaped specifically to protect the parts of the body that lose heat fastest. None of this happened by accident. It was the result of generations of people dying in the cold, watching what killed them, and passing that knowledge forward so the next generation had a slightly better chance. But all the clothing and sleds in the world could not solve the deepest problem that weeks of snow created. And this is the part of the story that most people never hear. When snow falls for weeks and temperatures drop low enough to make going outside genuinely dangerous, ancient humans were essentially trapped in small shelters, in the dark, with the same small group of people. For weeks at a time, think about what that actually felt like. No light beyond a small fire. No way to know how much longer the snow would last. Food is getting smaller every day. Children crying from cold and hunger. No way to get help from another group even if one existed nearby. Just the sound of wind and the weight of not knowing. Researchers studying winter psychology in isolated communities today find that prolonged darkness and confinement create real psychological strain even with modern comforts. For ancient humans without any of those comforts, the mental pressure of a long snowfall was as dangerous as the physical threat. And this is where something remarkable happened. Something that reveals more about ancient humans than almost anything else from this period. They made art. Cave paintings in Europe, many of them created during the coldest periods of the last ice age, show animals, people, hands, and patterns covering cave walls in incredible detail. Some of these paintings required scaffolding to create, meaning ancient humans carried materials, built structures, and spent real time creating art deep inside caves while snow buried the world outside. Archaeologists also found evidence of music during this same period. Bone flutes, some of the oldest musical instruments ever discovered, date back over 40,000 years. Someone picked up a piece of bone, carved holes into it with careful precision, and made something that could produce sound. Not for survival. For something else entirely. These were not people simply enduring the winter. They were people finding ways to stay human through it, to hold the group together, to give the long dark nights something other than fear and silence. That instinct, to create and connect when the outside world becomes impossible, is one of the most deeply human things that has ever existed. There is one discovery that changed everything about surviving winter, and it was not fire itself. It was what fire did to rocks. Ancient humans noticed that certain dense, flat rocks absorbed heat from a fire and released it slowly over hours after the flames died down completely. By heating these stones and placing them around the sleeping area, a shelter stayed warm through the entire night without needing constant fuel or someone awake to tend the fire. Archaeologists found the proof in cracked and heat-damaged rocks at ancient sites across Europe and Asia. Rocks heated repeatedly expand and eventually fracture. These same rocks were being used winter after winter in the same locations by people who knew exactly what they were doing. They did not just survive the cold. They learned to store warmth itself. The next time snow falls outside your window and you reach for a blanket and turn up the heat, remember this. 40,000 years ago, someone did the exact same thing with a heated rock and a bone flute. Same instinct, same need, just a very different set of tools. Winter has always wanted to break us. It never quite managed it. If this made you see a snow day completely differently, subscribe. Every video on this channel does exactly that to something you thought you already understood.